The day I nuked my family's dreams for me started like any other suffocating Sunday dinner. Except this time, I wasn't just their disappointing daughter. I was about to become their worst nightmare. My name is Cameron, and I was supposed to marry Carson Lee that summer. The merger of two dynasties, my father called it. The solution to my rebellious phase of actually wanting a career in tech. I can still smell my mother's signature roast beef when I close my eyes, still hear the clink of expensive china as I stood up from that mahogany dinner table. I'm not marrying him, I said, my voice steadier than my hands. The silence that followed could have cracked glass. My father's face turned that specific shade of purple I'd grown to recognize as the precursor to nuclear winter. Sit down. Each word dropped like ice. No. I remained standing. I'm done being your chess piece. Carson lounged in his chair, smirking like this was all terribly amusing. Come on, Cam. Don't be difficult. This is a good deal for everyone. A good deal? I laughed, and it came out raw. I'm not a merger acquisition. My sister Freya rolled her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. Do you know how many girls would kill for this opportunity? Then give it to them. I turned to leave, but my father's voice cracked like a whip. If you walk out that door, you're cutting yourself off from everything. Your trust fund, your tuition, your future. You'll end up alone and poor, coding in hoodies like some basement dweller. My mother dabbed her lips with a napkin. Cameron, dear, please be reasonable. We only want what's best. Best for who? I spun around. Best for your country club membership? Best for Dad's golf buddies? Or best for Carson's daddy's investment firm? You ungrateful little... My father stood up, napkin falling to the floor. I'm leaving. I grabbed my bag. And I'm taking my pointless computer science degree with me. Freya's perfectly manicured hand flew to her mouth. You can't be serious. You're throwing everything away. Watch me. I made it halfway to the door before my mother's voice, soft and venomous, slithered after me. If you leave now, don't come crawling back when you fail. I paused, hand on the doorknob. Funny thing about coding, Mom. It teaches you that everything's binary, 1 or 0. Success or failure, no middle ground. You'll regret this, my father thundered. Mark my words. I looked back one last time, memorizing their faces. Dad's rage, Mom's cold disappointment, Freya's scandalized shock, and Carson's amused contempt. No, I said quietly, I won't. The door slammed behind me with a finality that felt like freedom. My Tesla, the only thing I'd bought with my waste of time, freelance work, waited in the driveway. I got in, hands shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. My phone started buzzing immediately. First, Freya. You're insane. Then, Mom. Please reconsider. Dad didn't text. He never did. His presence was always a thundercloud of silence. I turned off my phone and drove to the only place I could think of, the 24-hour coffee shop where I'd been secretly building my first startup prototype. The barista, Jake, took one look at my face and slid over my usual triple-shot Americano. Rough night? You could say that. I pulled out my laptop, the screen reflecting my mascara-streaked face. I just torched my entire safety net. Damn. He leaned on the counter. Worth it? I opened my development environment, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Ask me again in 5 years. That night, I coded until sunrise, fueled by spite and caffeine. My father's words echoed in my head. You'll end up alone and poor. Each line of code felt like a middle finger to their expectations. Little did they know, I'd already secured a spot in an elite tech accelerator program, had my own savings account they couldn't touch, been quietly building something that would change everything. They thought they were cutting me off. I was cutting them out. But I bet they weren't laughing the morning they saw my name flash across the CNBC ticker. The day their precious Alpine Financial, home of Dad's precious pension and Carson's future inheritance, changed hands. That's the thing about karma. Sometimes you have to code it yourself. 6 months after the dinner disaster, I was living on ramen and determination in a studio apartment that made prison cells look spacious. My laptop's glow was the only light I could afford most nights. Your sister just got engaged, my mother's voicemail chirped, to a proper gentleman with a real career. Maybe you could learn something from her example. Delete. I checked my bank account, $247.13. My freelance clients were late with payments again, and the coding boot camp I'd enrolled in was bleeding me dry. But it was worth it. Had to be. That's where I met Aiden. He was hunched over his keyboard in the back row, dark circles under his eyes matching mine. While everyone else struggled with basic JavaScript, he was already building complex algorithms. Your code's elegant, I said during lunch break, sliding onto the bench beside him. But your security's got holes. He raised an eyebrow. Show me. I pulled out my laptop and demonstrated 3 different ways to break his authentication system. His eyes widened slightly. Damn, he whispered. That's impressive. I know. We started meeting for coffee after class. Actual coffee, not the mud they served at boot camp. Aiden listened as I outlined my ideas for AI-driven financial software. The whole system's rigged, I explained, sketching diagrams on a napkin. But what if we could democratize it? Make financial intelligence accessible to everyone? You're talking about disrupting an entire industry. He leaned forward. The big firms would fight back. I thought of my father's smug face when he talked about Alpine Financial. Let them. Our late-night coding sessions became a ritual. While my family sent increasingly hostile messages about my phase, Aiden and I built prototypes. We entered hackathons, won a few, lost more. Then came the dinner that changed everything. Cameron, Freya's voice carried across the restaurant. What a surprise. I froze. She was sitting with our parents at their usual Sunday spot. Of course. I'd forgotten what day it was. Join us, my mother commanded, not asked. Trapped, I approached their table. My father didn't look up from his phone. Look at you, Freya cooed. Still in that startup phase? You know, Martin just made junior partner at his firm. We're looking at houses in the Heights. How nice, I forced a smile. And what are you up to? My mother's tone could have frozen hell. Actually, I started. She's probably still playing with computers, my father interrupted, finally looking up. How's that working out? Making minimum wage yet? Before I could respond, Aiden appeared beside me. Cameron, there you are. We're late for the investor meeting. My family stared at him, taking in his perfectly tailored suit and quiet confidence. And you are? My mother asked, switching to her society voice. Aiden Bradley, Cameron's business partner. He smiled professionally. We really must dash. Our Series A investors are waiting. I could have kissed him. Series A? My father's face twitched. Lovely meeting you all, Aiden said, guiding me away. Outside, I burst out laughing. My hero, but we don't have any investors. Yet. He pulled out his phone. Check your email. There it was, an invitation to pitch to Quantum Ventures, one of the top tech VCs in the country. How? I whispered. Remember that hackathon we lost last month? The judges were impressed. They've been watching us. I stared at the email until the words blurred. Then I opened my drafts folder and found the apology letter to my father I'd been working on for months. Delete. They couldn't cage me if they couldn't keep up with me, I said softly. Aiden touched my shoulder. You okay? Better than okay. I squared my shoulders. Let's go build something they can't ignore. That night, I worked until dawn, fueled by a new kind of fire. Not just revenge anymore, something bigger. The code flowed like poetry, each function a step toward freedom. My phone buzzed with a text from Haley, my former best friend. Heard you're still playing entrepreneur. BTW, Carson and I are dating now. No hard feelings? I looked at my screen, at the prototype that would eventually become Nasara Systems, at Aiden's messages about potential investors, at my family's attempts to make me feel small. They thought I was just a girl with a laptop and delusions. They had no idea I was building their reckoning, one line of code at a time. I typed back to Haley, "Keep him. I've got bigger plans." Then I turned back to my code. The future was calling, and for once, I wasn't afraid to answer. The eviction notice came on a Tuesday, not from my crappy apartment, from my life. "You've made your choice," my father's email read. "I've frozen your tuition account. Don't bother coming home for Christmas." I sat on my threadbare couch, laptop balanced on my knees, reading the message 3 times. The apartment's shared bathroom's pipes groaned in the background, a fitting soundtrack to my new rock bottom. My phone lit up with Instagram notifications. Haley had posted new photos, her and Carson at the country club, his arm around her waist. The caption read, "Sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for." I slammed my laptop shut and grabbed my black notebook, the one where I'd started writing my future wins. Tonight's entry, "Build an empire they can't ignore." A knock at my door made me jump. "Cam?" It was Aiden. "You're 3 hours late for our pitch practice." I opened the door, not bothering to hide my red eyes. "Sorry, family drama." He took one look at me and held up a paper bag. "I brought Thai food and bourbon." We sat on my floor, eating pad Thai straight from the containers. I showed him the email. "So that's it," I said, taking a swig from the bottle. "I'm officially disowned." "You know," Aiden said carefully, "we could postpone the quantum pitch. Take some time to—" "No." I grabbed my laptop. "We pitch tomorrow. End of story." "Cam, I mean it." I opened our presentation. "They want me gone? Fine. I'll disappear so hard they'll wish they could find me." The next morning, we stood in Quantum Ventures' gleaming conference room. My discount blazer itched, but I held my head high. "Your AI-driven financial platform is interesting," the lead investor said, "but risky. What's your edge?" I thought of my father's smugness about his Alpine financial connections, of Carson's dismissive smirk, of Haley's perfectly curated betrayal. "We understand pain points others don't," I said. "The system's broken. The old guard's too comfortable. We're building for the outsiders." "Passionate," he noted, "but passion doesn't equal profit." "No," I agreed, "but revolution does. They passed. Of course they did. We were too raw, too ambitious, too everything." Walking out, Aiden grabbed my arm. "Wait, look." A man in an expensive suit was hurrying toward us. "Ms. Hunt?" A word? He introduced himself as Michael, representing a private angel investor. "We've been watching your progress. My client is interested in disruption." "Who's your client?" I asked. He smiled. "Someone who appreciates the value of revenge, served cold, and profitable." The check he showed us had more zeros than I'd ever seen. Legitimate, after we verified it. "Why us?" Aiden asked. "Let's just say my client recognizes the hunger in your code." Michael handed me his card. "Sometimes the best innovations come from those with something to prove." That night, I couldn't sleep. I scrolled through my social media one last time before deactivating everything. Freya had posted about her new Mercedes. Mom shared photos from the country club gala. Dad was featured in a local business magazine, talking about family values and legacy. Haley had messaged me, "Heard about your funding troubles. There's no shame in admitting defeat." Carson says his firm is hiring secretaries. I blocked her and opened my laptop. Lines of code filled the screen, our prototype growing stronger each day. But it wasn't enough. I needed more. "You up?" I texted Aiden. "Always. You okay?" "No, but I will be." Meet me at the office? I have an idea. He was there in 20 minutes, looking rumpled but alert. I showed him my screen. If we pivot here, I explained, we could target pension fund management, make it impossible for the big firms to ignore us. That's ambitious, he studied the code, and personal. Everything's personal in finance. I pulled up Alpine Financial's public records. Look at their vulnerabilities. They're practically begging to be disrupted. You're not just building a company anymore, are you? His voice was quiet. I thought of my father's last words to me. You'll never succeed without our support. No, I admitted. I'm building their worst nightmare. Aiden was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled up his chair. Show me where to start. We coded until sunrise, our new direction taking shape. The angel investor's money hit our account that morning. In the harsh light of dawn, I made one final entry in my black notebook. Day 1 of making them regret underestimating me. Little did I know that morning marked the beginning of their end, and my real education in power was just beginning. 5 years can change everything. Our tiny startup, Nasara Systems, had grown from a revenge fantasy into a tech powerhouse. Our AI-driven pension management platform was revolutionizing the industry, and the vultures were starting to circle. Forbes wants to profile you, our PR director announced during the morning meeting. They're calling you the ghost queen of fintech. I nearly choked on my coffee. Pass. Cam, Aiden warned. We can't keep hiding you forever. The IPO's coming up. Watch me. I turned back to my laptop, but my phone buzzed with a notification. Freya had tagged me in a post. Some girls play dress up in hoodies and pretend to be entrepreneurs. Real women build families. Das blessed proc your wife life. I showed it to Aiden. Still think we should go public? He studied the post. Actually, yes, but not as Cameron Hunt. That got my attention. What do you mean? Use a pseudonym, build the mystery, drive them crazy trying to figure out who's behind Nasara. I smiled slowly. Lovelace, 81. The first programmer, nice touch. The Forbes interview happened in a private room at the Four Seasons. I wore a wig and colored contacts. Overkill maybe, but I was taking no chances. Your platform is disrupting traditional pension management, the reporter said. Alpine Financial's CEO called it dangerous. Dexter Mason would say that, I replied, watching her scribble notes. His firm's been overcharging clients for decades. You seem to know a lot about Alpine. I know everything about Alpine. I leaned forward. Did you know their CEO takes private jets to client meetings in the Cayman Islands? Interesting choice for a pension fund manager. The reporter's eyes widened. That's quite an allegation. Check their flight records. Public information, if you know where to look. After she left, Aiden found me staring out the window. You just declared war on Alpine. They declared war when they helped my father control me through money. I pulled up Alpine's internal dashboard on my tablet, courtesy of our latest security audit contract with them. Look who just joined their executive training program. Haley's profile photo smiled back at us. Perfect timing, I murmured. The Forbes article dropped like a bomb. Mystery Tech Queen challenges financial giants, screamed the headline. Alpine stock dipped. Online forums exploded with theories about Lovelace 81's identity. Then came the email I'd been waiting for. Dear Cameron, it's been too long. Your father and I would love to have you for dinner this Sunday. Family should stick together. Love, Mom. I forwarded it to Aiden. His response came instantly. Trap? Obviously. They finally noticed Nasara's success. Are you going? I thought about it. 5 years of radio silence, and now they wanted to play family? The old Cameron would have deleted the email, but I wasn't her anymore. Yes, I replied. Time to start the endgame. That afternoon, I had our security team sweep Alpine's networks deeper. Dexter Mason's pension fund algorithms were full of holes, the kind that could trigger automatic audits if exposed properly. "You're really going to do this?" Aiden asked, watching me work. They thought they could lock me out of their world. I pulled up Alpine's client list. Time to show them I built my own. My phone buzzed again. A message from Haley. "Heard about your little company. Cute. BTW, just got promoted at Alpine. Guess some of us were meant for the big leagues." I smiled at my screen. If she only knew she just handed me the perfect Trojan horse. "What are you thinking?" Aiden asked, recognizing my expression. "I'm thinking it's time for a system upgrade at Alpine." I pulled up our acquisition strategy document. "How much liquid capital do we have?" His eyes widened. "You can't be serious. Watch me." I opened my black notebook to a fresh page. "First rule of coding, if you can't access a system legitimately, buy the whole damn thing," he finished, shaking his head. "You're terrifying sometimes, you know that?" I thought of my father's smug face, of Haley's condescension, of all the doors they tried to close in my face. "Good," I said, and started typing, "because this is just the beginning." The Forbes article went viral that night. "Who is Lovelace?" 81 trended on Twitter. And somewhere in my old neighborhood, my family was about to learn the hard way. Never underestimate a woman with a laptop and a score to settle. The family mansion looked exactly the same, a monument to old money and older prejudices. I parked my Tesla behind Freya's Mercedes, adjusting my simple black dress. No hoodie tonight. "Remember," Aiden's voice came through my earpiece, "you're just gathering intel. Don't show your hand." "Copy that, Mission Control," I whispered, ringing the doorbell. My mother opened the door, her face a masterpiece of practiced warmth. "Cameron, you look professional." "Thanks, Mom. You look exactly the same." The dining room was a time capsule. Same crystal chandelier, same family photos, minus me, same suffocating expectations. My father stood by his chair, trying to look imposing. "So," he said as I sat down, "you've been busy." "Have I?" I sipped my water. "I hadn't noticed." Freya rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. Your little startup is all anyone talks about at the club, though nobody seems to know who actually runs it." "Fascinating." I turned to my mother. "How's the garden?" "Don't change the subject," my father cut in. "Why didn't you tell us about your success? Would you have cared 5 years ago?" Silence fell like a guillotine. "Of course we would have," my mother said smoothly. "We've always supported your interests." I laughed. "Is that what we're calling it now?" The doorbell rang. My mother brightened. "Ah, our other guests are here." My stomach dropped as Haley walked in. Carson in tow. Of course. The setup was complete. "Cameron." Haley air-kissed my cheeks. "Love the dress." "H&M?" "Valentino, actually." I smiled. "Congratulations on the Alpine position. Entry level is such an exciting time." Her smile flickered. "Speaking of Alpine," my father boomed, "Dexter Mason himself manages my pension fund. Best returns in the business." "Is that so?" I picked up my fork. "I heard their security audit revealed some interesting patterns." Carson's head snapped up. "Where did you hear that?" "Oh, tech circles." I twirled pasta around my fork. "By the way, how are those Cayman accounts doing?" The color drained from my father's face. "What are you talking about?" "Nothing," I smiled. "Just industry gossip. Cameron's company is quite influential now," my mother interjected desperately. "Perhaps she and Carson could collaborate." "Actually," Haley said, clutching Carson's arm, "we have an announcement. We're engaged." "Again?" I raised an eyebrow at Carson. "Third time's the charm, I guess." "What's that supposed to mean?" Haley snapped. "Nothing. I'm sure you'll be very happy at Alpine. While it lasts." My father slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. What game are you playing?" "Game?" I stood up slowly. I'm not the one who invited my ex-fiancé and his new girlfriend to dinner. We're trying to bring this family together, my mother pleaded. No, you're trying to regain control. But here's the thing. I pulled out my phone and opened the Forbes article. I don't need your approval anymore. Freya grabbed the phone. Her eyes widened. Wait, Lovelace, 81 is... Impossible, Carson whispered. The little girl in hoodies? I smiled at Haley. The one playing entrepreneur. My father's face turned purple. If you think... I don't think, Dad. I know. I walked to the door. By the way, I checked those Alpine statements carefully. Markets can be so volatile. Are you threatening me? He growled. Not at all. Just sharing industry insights. I paused at the door. Oh, and Haley? About that executive position? I'd wait before signing any contracts. Outside, I let out a shaky breath. You okay? Aiden asked through the earpiece. Never better. I got in my car. How's the Alpine acquisition coming? Paperwork's ready. They won't know what hit them. I looked back at the house, at the perfect life they'd tried to force me into. Through the window, I could see them arguing, their perfect facade cracking. Good, I said, starting the engine, because tomorrow we're going shopping for a financial firm. My phone buzzed with texts. Mom, please be reasonable. Freya, you've lost your mind. Haley, what did you mean about my position? I turned off my phone and drove toward the office, toward my real home, toward the revenge I'd coded line by painstaking line. They thought dinner was uncomfortable? Wait until they saw what I had planned for breakfast, because tomorrow Alpine Financial would have a new owner. And my father's precious pension? Well, let's just say its management was about to get very personal. The Alpine Financial boardroom smelled like leather and privilege. Dexter Mason sat at the head of the table, smirking at our acquisition team. A hostile takeover? He chuckled. Cute, but Alpine isn't for sale. I sat quietly in the back, wearing a wig and glasses, playing the role of a junior analyst. Aiden led the presentation. Your security vulnerabilities alone make you a liability, Aiden said, sliding over a folder. Page 3 might interest you. Dexter's smirk vanished as he read, These are private records. We're private, I corrected, standing up. Just like those interesting flights to Grand Cayman. He squinted. Who are you? I removed the wig. Someone who learned to code because money was used as a weapon against her. The Ghost Queen, he whispered. Lovelace, 81. In the flesh. I sat across from him. Now, about those pension fund algorithms. You can't prove anything. Actually, I pulled out my tablet. We can prove everything. Your choice. A quiet sale or a very public audit. 4 hours later, I owned Alpine Financial. Clear out your office, I told Dexter. Consider it personal rebalancing. He stood, shoulders slumped. Your father was right about you. You're ruthless. No, I smiled. I'm just better at the game. As he left, my phone buzzed. A text from Haley. Meeting with Alpine's HR tomorrow. Finally moving up. I forwarded it to our new HR director with 2 words. Cancel it. Aiden found me in Dexter's former office, staring at the city skyline. You did it, he said softly. You actually did it. Not yet. I pulled up Alpine's client list. Flag all Hunt family accounts for stability review. Full audit. Cam, he touched my shoulder. Just make sure there's something left of you after all this. I'm not destroying them, I said, typing commands. I'm teaching them what it feels like to be powerless. My phone rang, a number I hadn't seen in 7 years. Dad, should I answer it? I asked Aiden. That depends. What's left to say? I let it go to voicemail. The next morning, financial news exploded. Tech startup acquires Alpine Financial. Market stunned. My father's voicemail was exactly what I expected. What have you done? my pension, everything we built. Call me immediately. Instead, I called an all-hands meeting at Alpine. Changes start today, I announced to the shocked faces. First order, complete transparency on all accounts. No more hidden fees, no more Cayman transfers. But that's not how things are done, someone protested. It is now. I looked directly at the old guard. Adapt or leave, your choice. By afternoon, resignation letters piled up. Good. Dead wood burns best. Aiden brought me coffee as I reviewed account flags. Your sister's been calling. Let me guess. Her husband's investment portfolio? Tanking, thanks to our new transparency rules. I thought about Freya's smug posts, her constant jabs about real women and family values. Karma's not fate, I said, signing off on another audit. It's consequences. My phone buzzed again. A message from my mother. Please stop this madness. Your father can't sleep. We can talk about this. I typed back, like we talked about my future. Aiden watched me. You know this won't fix anything, right? It's not about fixing. I pulled up the final authorization form. It's about balance. With one click, I initiated full audits on every Hunt family account. By morning, their financial house of cards would start tumbling. What now? Aiden asked. Now? I looked at the city lights coming on, at the empire I'd built from spite and code. Now we rebuild the system, make it fair, make it transparent. And your family? I thought of my father's rage, my mother's manipulation, Freya's contempt, of all the nights I'd cried over keyboards, turning pain into power. They wanted me to learn about real power. I closed my laptop. Lesson delivered. That night, I drove past my old house. Through the windows, I could see them all gathered, probably planning their next move, realizing their financial world was crumbling. My phone lit up one last time. A text from Carson. You've made your point. Name your price. I laughed out loud in my car. They still thought this was about money. No price, I typed back. Just consequences. Then I drove to my office, my real home, where lines of code held more truth than family ever did. Let them panic. Let them feel what I felt. Tomorrow would bring more changes, more audits, more truth, and I'd watch it all burn from my new corner office, the one with their perfect view. Victory tastes different than I imagined, emptier somehow. I sat in my office, listening to my father's voicemail for the 10th time. His voice was hoarse, broken, something I never heard before. Cameron, what you're doing. Your mother can't stop crying. Freya's marriage is falling apart because of the financial strain. Is this what you wanted? To destroy your family? Delete. Aiden walked in without knocking. You need to see this. He handed me his tablet. Haley had posted a cryptic Instagram story. Beware the girl you called irrelevant. Some revenge stories write themselves. Tech queen. Shock your justice. She's trying to align herself with you, Aiden said. Damage control. Bit late for that. I pulled up Alpine's latest audit reports. The numbers were worse than expected. Their entire portfolio is toxic. That's not all. Aiden sat down. Your mother liquidated everything this morning. Dumped it into some real estate fund that's about to collapse. She what? I checked the transactions. That's their entire savings, including the house. I stood up, walking to the window. The city sprawled below, indifferent to the small apocalypses happening in its penthouses. My phone buzzed. Freya. What do you want? I answered. Martin's leaving me, her voice cracked. The audit. His firm. They're investigating him now, too. Are you happy? I didn't make him break regulations. No, you just exposed everyone's secrets like some vengeful god. She was crying now. Mom's had to sell her jewelry. Dad's not eating. Is this your perfect revenge? I ended the call, but her words echoed. Looking at my reflection in the window, I barely recognized myself. Aiden touched my shoulder. Maybe it's enough. Is it? I turned to face him. They took everything from me, my dignity, my future, my choices. And now you've taken everything from them. He gestured at the audit reports. The question is, who are you without this revenge? Before I could answer, my assistant rushed in. Ms. Hunt, your father's here. What? But there he was, standing in my doorway. Gone was the imposing figure who terrorized my childhood. This man looked old, defeated. Cameron. His voice was quiet. We need to talk. Aiden slipped out, closing the door behind him. Nice office, my father said, looking around. Better than mine was at Alpine. What do you want? He sat heavily in a chair. To understand, was it all a lie? The startup, the success? Was it just to destroy us? No. I sat across from him. The success is real. The destruction was just a bonus. Your mother, he started. Don't, I held up my hand. Don't try to guilt me. Not after everything. We're losing the house, he said flatly. The one you grew up in. The garden where you used to play. All of it. I thought of my childhood swing, of summer afternoons before everything went wrong. Something twisted in my chest. You should have thought about that before you used money as a leash. He stood suddenly, anger flaring. We gave you everything. No! I slammed my hands on the desk. You gave me conditions, expectations, a cage made of dollar bills and disappointment. And this is better? He gestured around. Being feared? Being alone? The words hit harder than I expected. I looked at my empire of spite, my throne of vengeance. My phone lit up with notifications. Haley was giving interviews now, claiming she'd always supported women in tech. The media was calling me a ruthless disruptor. Stock prices were falling. Get out, I told my father. Cameron. Please. My voice cracked. Just go. After he left, I sat in the dark, staring at nothing. Aiden found me there hours later. Your mother's jewelry is being auctioned online, he said softly. Freya's house is listed for sale. The media is calling you the angel of financial death. I opened my laptop, looking at the code that started it all. Simple lines of revenge, grown into an avalanche. I won, I whispered. So why doesn't it feel like winning? Because you're not them, Aiden said. You never were. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from my mother. The house goes up for auction next week. I saved your old diary from the attic. Should I mail it, or will your lawyers handle that too? I closed my eyes, remembering the girl who wrote in that diary, the one who dreamed of changing the world, not burning it down. What have I become? I asked the empty room, but the only answer was the hum of servers, counting other people's losses like digital tears. The auction sign loomed over my childhood home like an execution notice. I sat in my Tesla, watching potential buyers stream in and out. Each one felt like a vulture picking at memories. My phone buzzed. Aiden. You're not at the office, he said. No. The house auction's today, isn't it? I watched another couple walk through the front door. They're touching Mom's wallpaper. Cam! His voice softened. What are you going to do? I thought about the diary my mother had sent, about the girl who'd written in it, full of dreams bigger than revenge. Something different, I said, and hung up. Inside, the house smelled like desperation and furniture polish. My mother stood in the corner, spine straight despite everything. My father sat in his old armchair looking lost. Freya wasn't here, probably hiding from the gossip. What are you doing here? My mother asked sharply. I ignored her, walking to the realtor. Cancel the auction. Excuse me? I pulled out my phone, transferred a number that made her eyes widen. The house is no longer for sale. You can't just... My father started. Actually, I can. I turned to face them, but not for the reasons you think. My mother's face hardened. More revenge? No. I sat on the coffee table facing their chair. I'm tired of revenge. It tastes like ashes. Then why? My father demanded. Because I'm not you. I looked around the house, at the photos they'd kept despite everything. I don't want to win by making others lose. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Tech Queen announces revolutionary financial education initiative. What's that? My mother grabbed her tablet. My next project. I stood up. Free financial literacy programs, transparent investment tools, everything I wished I'd had when you used money to control me. You're giving away trade secrets? My father looked appalled. I'm breaking the cycle. I walked to the window, to my old swing. The house stays in the family. Your pensions will recover. Slowly, legally. But things will change. Why should we trust you? My mother whispered. Because I'm choosing to be better than my pain. I turned back to them. And because, despite everything, you're still my parents. My father stood shakily. And Freya? Her marriage? Martin's legal troubles are his own doing. But I've arranged good lawyers. I headed for the door. The rest is up to them. Cameron, my mother called. Your old room. It's still there. Keep it that way. I paused at the threshold, but I won't be moving back. Outside, Aiden waited in his car. You didn't burn it down, he noted. Better. I smiled. I grew up. My phone lit up with notifications. Haley had deleted her revenge posts. The media was already spinning stories about the education initiative. Freya had sent a single text. Thank you. The board won't like giving away proprietary tech, Aiden warned. The board works for me. I buckled my seatbelt. And I'm done hoarding power like dragon gold. We drove to the office where I had one last task. I logged into my admin panel and removed all the punitive flags from the Hunt accounts. Not forgiveness, evolution. Still coding in hoodies? Aiden asked, watching me work. Still think I'm a villain? He smiled. I think you're finally the hero of your own story. I opened a new document and began typing. Build what they said you couldn't. A guide to ethical disruption. Within hours, it went viral. Thousands of comments poured in from women sharing similar stories. Daughters, sisters, others who'd been told to stay small. My father texted, Your mother's reading your guide. She's crying, the good kind. I didn't respond, but I saved the message. Later that night, I stood in my office looking at the city lights. The same view, but different eyes. My black notebook sat on the desk, the one full of revenge plots and pain. I picked it up, then dropped it in the shredder. Ready to go? Aiden asked from the doorway. Almost. I sent one final email to myself from my old account. Dear past Cameron, they said you'd end up alone and poor. They were wrong. You ended up powerful and free. And that's better than revenge. Love, the girl who built herself. I grabbed my hoodie, designer now, but still me, and headed out. Where to? Aiden asked. Forward, I said. Always forward. Behind us, the office hummed with possibility. Ahead, a future built on creation instead of destruction. And somewhere in between, a girl on a swing finally learned to fly instead of fall. This time, on her own terms.